We're still in chapter 14 of Genesis. Now, previously, as you recall, Lot and Abram had a falling out. They fought over who had rights to which wells, which pasture grounds. Two very rich people who couldn't get along. Even though Lot was Abram's nephew. And Abram was trying to keep the peace. May I remind you that Abram was the one that decided to go out to Canaan, and Lot followed him. So it should stand to reason that as family, they could share. They could be a family. But no, that was not to be. And as you may also recall, Abram said, Lot, you go where you want to go, and I'll go the opposite direction. Well, as you may also recall, Lot saw the rich and wonderful big cities of Sodom, Gomorrah, and all those other cities in the valley, in a fertile valley that looks as beautiful as the Garden of Eden and the lush gardens of the Nile Delta of Egypt. So it is with the world sometimes, isn't it? And that's how we sometimes get tempted away from our faith, isn't it? Well, that's what happened. Let's just continue in Genesis chapter 14 and unpack it. We're reading from verses 7 to 12. And they returned and came to En-Mishpat, which is Kadesh, and smote all the country of the Amalekites and also the Amorites, and dwelt in Hazeron Tamar. Now, who did that? That's Chedorlaomer and his entire army. Chedorlaomer, that's right. And they conquered, and they conquered. And there went out the king of Sodom, and the king of Gomorrah, and the king of Admah, and the king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, which actually is Zoar. And they joined battle with them in the valley of the Siddim. That's the great valley. With Chedorlaomer, the king of Elam, and with Tidal, king of nations. I don't know if it's pronounced Tidal or Tidal. And Amraphel, king of Shinar. And Arioch, king of Eleazar. 4 kings against the 5. And the valley of Siddim, the Siddim valley, was full of slime pits. And the king of Sodom, the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah, fled and fell there. That means their armies were defeated. And they that remained, that's the kings who were cowards, fled to the mountain. And so the army that conquered took all the goods of Sodom and Gomorrah and all their victuals. Victuals is all the goods, and went their way. And they took Lot, Abram's brother's son, who dwell in Sodom, and his goods, and they departed. I'm going to make this very short. Chedorlaomer's army kept conquering. It was like a machine that kept going and kept going and kept massacring, kept slaughtering, and kept conquering. They made the circuit of Kadesh Barnea, which is now the Sinai Peninsula, and slaughtered all they saw and doubled back to the valley where we now have the Dead Sea. Finally, the 5 kings got directly involved, and we read that in verse 8. They couldn't divide Chedorlaomer any longer. They were being invaded, and they fled along with their broken army of soldiers who fled into the mountain and into the slime pits outside their city. Chedorlaomer and his 3 kings didn't bother pursuing them. Now these pits where they escaped to were so extensive that the Dead Sea was called the Asphalt Sea by the early historians. The slime apparently was left over, accumulations of gross, yucky, organic debris that was left over from the flood. Though the lake wasn't dead yet, no doubt those slime pits would be responsible for the future death and saltiness of what we now know as the Dead Sea. So, Chedorlaomer and his 3 kings, instead of pursuing the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah, the 4 kings led by Chedorlaomer looted the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah, grabbed everything they could. Any food, any goods, any riches. And they walked away with the spoils of war. And included in the spoils of war was Abram's nephew, Lot, and all his wealth. You see, the very place that Lot thought would be the safest ended up being the most dangerous. You could almost make out and hear Abram saying to Lot, "See, I told you so." And we can conclude Lot did not choose very wisely, did he? You know, that's so much like us, isn't it? Sometimes we don't know how safe we have it. Sometimes we don't know how good we have it. And we look over on the other side and say, "Hey, that grass looks cleaner. A lot cleaner than where I am. A lot greener." That's what I meant. So, I'd rather go there. I'd rather go there. But sometimes we don't realize how good we have it. So, again, I say, Lot did not choose very wisely. He didn't know how safe he was with Abram. And he's about to find out in our next lesson. But for now, it definitely looked hopeless for Lot and family.